Hello and welcome into another edition of the Scorching Start on the Birds Broadcast Network. I'm your host, Sammy Miller, alongside your broadcasters, Ian Nicholas and Dylan Pescatore. And the Firebirds are back in action after a much-needed off day to really recharge for the last remainder of these games before the playoffs roll around. And today, it's a not-so-ordinary doubleheader at Veterans Field where the Firebirds will be taking on the Chatham Anglers. The first game, they're actually resuming it. So all the way back to July 5th, the fog, it's pretty popular here in Chatham, so the game was postponed. At the bottom of the fourth, the game was tied 5-5, but then the second game will be a regular 9 innings game. It's going to be crazy, but it should definitely be exciting. Ian, what should we be expecting from this day as a whole as a crazy doubleheader?
Well, it's 14 innings of baseball, just like it was on last Friday, 14 innings of baseball against Chatham from Eldridge Park. Expect the Chatham team that looks a lot different on a week-to-week basis. It's just been that kind of season for them, guys coming in, guys coming out. But overall, an East Division foe, a beautiful day, a beautiful ballpark, and 2 wins Orleans needs if his team wants to continue to stay atop the East Division standings.
And before we get into the meat and potatoes of today, it was an off day like I noted. So Ian, how was your off day?
Oh, it was awesome. I mean, I spent $40 for a grilled cheese, which wasn't great. There was lobster in there. We went to Provincetown. It was a great time. It's a great experience. Everybody who's on the Cape has to always see what Provincetown has to offer.
Dylan, what about you? How was your P-Town experience?
My P-Town experience was great, but also I was in my Ford Explorer for about 6 hours yesterday, driving to P-Town, driving back to Brewster, driving to Boston, driving back to Brewster, stopping in Hyannis. Did a lot of driving, and thankfully only a 20-minute drive here to Chatham.
Dylan is definitely our MVP driver of this entire summer. But let's get back into today. The Firebirds have now secured a spot in the playoffs, so a big accomplishment for them. Ian, how much do you think it's going to help them with their confidence moving forward?
Well, it's huge because this last week is important, right? You obviously want to stay second or higher in order to make sure you host a home playoff series and get the fans packed at Eldridge next weekend. But at the same time, a little pressure is lifted off your shoulders, and maybe this last week you can really hone in on maybe some experimental things. That's the great thing about summer ball. Working on the kinks in your game, whether it's on the mound or at the plate. Where can you improve and what can you translate in the fall ball and eventually spring ball with your college? I still think the guys are going to give it 150% and continue to play winning baseball like they have over the last 2 games. But now a little bit of pressure is lifted off your shoulders. 8 of the 10 teams make it, and you are now one of the 8.
Like you noted, Ian, the past 2 games they have been playing winning baseball, combined 23 runs. Dylan, what do you think the biggest adjustment has been on the offensive side of the game?
It was so interesting because that 5-game stretch where they only went 1-4 and had really a lot of trouble scoring runs, they weren't making really strong contact. Now every hit they're making is a hard hit ball, 75 miles per hour and over in terms of exit velocity. They're making really good contact. They're getting on top of the baseball, and they're also lifting it into the gaps for doubles, triples, and even some home runs.
And on July 5th, 2 players had a very standout game. That would be Jack Penny, who had a 3-run homer, and then Eddie King Jr. had a 2-run homer, all in the same inning in that 3rd inning. So what should we be expecting from those 2 today?
We'll expect more. I mean, Dylan said it. Orleans has homered 7 times in the last week. 4 from Joe Oyama, but 1 from Jack Penny and a couple from Eddie King Jr. So those guys have been really hot as of late. Expect more of that. I mean, Eddie King coming off a 3-for-4 day against Falmouth. He's got 3 hits in 2 of his last 3 games. He's playing out of his mind, and Orleans has been waiting to see this Eddie King all summer long. Got a glimpse of it in that Chatham game back on the 5th. And then Jack Penny is an all-star for a reason. He was great early in July. He's been scorching hot towards the end of the month, and he's going to be right at the top of the order, playing 3rd tonight because that's where he played on the 5th, but expect to see him at short probably the rest of the way.
And today on the mound, starting for the Firebirds, is Vanderbilt's right-handed pitcher, Grayson Carter. His last outing was against Chatham in last week's doubleheader, and he had an incredible performance, 3 1/3 innings, 6 Ks, no runs or no hits allowed. What does he need to do to replicate that performance today?
Yeah, I think his fastball is always going to be there when we're talking about Grayson Carter, 97, 98, 99, even touching triple digits at some time. But what I think was the key in last week's start against Chatham was the off-speed, the changeup, inside on righties. They had him swinging over the changeup because they thought they were getting a fastball and then a slider playing off of that as well. If Grayson Carter can have his off-speed offerings working today, he'll be all set.
And today is going to be a big one against the Chatham Anglers. They already have a spot in the playoffs, the Firebirds do, but still, it's all about pride. This has been a rivalry for summers after summer after summer. So what do you think the Firebirds need to do today to get the win?
Well, it's a Chatham team that's coming off the heels of an ugly loss against Pescatore. They've lost 5 in a row, right? I'm pretty sure the last time Chatham won a game was in the first leg of a doubleheader against Orleans from Eldridge Park. they've been good against Orleans this season. 2 of the 3 completed games that we've gotten through have gone in favor of Chatham over Orleans. So I think the key is understand you have an opportunity to take down a team twice today that's just got so many moving parts. They've got another new manager. It's been a tough season for the Chatham A's. It is what it is. But understand that you cannot play down necessarily. Understand that you have been playing your best baseball right now. Continue to peak as you go into the final week of the season, because it's not about who did well in June, who did well at the start of July, who's doing well in the final week of the year. And if you don't come out of here, in my mind, with a sweep, you're going to feel like you left a little bit out here today from Veterans Field.
And these type of postponements don't really happen all too often. So instead of the Firebirds going into this game at the top of the first, it's the bottom of the fourth. So how does their mindset need to shift today?
Well, number one, they have to be at 100% locked-in mentality from pitch number one, because it's a full count with the bases loaded in a tie game with 2 outs. So Grayson Carter gets a few warm-up pitches on the mound, but then he's got to lock in and throw a strike. There's no, fooling around, messing around in the first inning, which is really the 4th inning today. They got to be locked in from pitch number 1 to 9, because you're only playing 5 1/3 today before game 2. You have to really be locked in, play your best baseball from pitch 1.
And guys, you know what time it is. I need your keys for game 1 of the doubleheader.
You know what? I'm going to go a little off the board here. Eddie King and Jack Penny, they homered in that first game. They've been hot as of late. How about one of them homers again in the first leg of a doubleheader to make it a multi-home run game on multiple days, and then set the tone for the entirety of this affair from Veterans Field? I think if you win the first game, the second game becomes a lot easier to control.
I know the dugout would go crazy if that happened. Dylan, what about you? What's your key?
Well, managers never like doubleheaders because of how much pitching they have to go through. But I think with Grayson Carter on the mound, he's been a starting pitcher for this team. He's going to start in the 4th inning. If he can get to the 7th or the 8th, save some of this bullpen, keep the game close in terms of keeping Chatham off the board, the pitching won't have to do a lot of the work, and Kelly Nicholson can stay in that dugout.
Well, it's a beautiful day in Chatham, and it's a beautiful day for some baseball. Stay tuned for a lot more content on the Scorching Start.
All right, let's go to war, boys. You guys keep it out.
I'm now joined alongside Firebirds manager Kelly Nicholson. A great and much needed off day yesterday to really recharge for the last chunk of these regular season's games. How awesome was it to really bond with the team yesterday? I heard it was some mini golf, some greatness happening over there.
Yeah, it was good. It was good to have an off day, Sammy, especially in lieu of this doubleheader, tonight. It was fun. We had fun. We had probably 2/3 of the team show up for a little mini golf competition. Grayson Carter was the winner. Jay Money organized it, had a hat for Grayson, comparable to the Masters cap.
Of course.
And then he gave away 4 green T-shirts to the winning team. So it was cool. And then we went across the street and had a little bit of ice cream. Then the coaches and Trish and Don and I, we all went to dinner. So it was really a fun night, fun day. It's great.
What flavor ice cream did you choose?
You know what? I didn't have any because we were on our way to dinner. Now, Coach Lawler and Trish had ice cream first. That's kind of what they do because it says they don't eat as much at dinner. So they still went to dinner with us, didn't eat a whole lot. And I'm like, Coach, that's pretty wise of you. I'm always learning from Jim and Trish. So I'm going to have to try dessert first and cut down on my dinner portion. There
we go. Also, yesterday you guys clinched a playoff spot. So how awesome is it just for the confidence moving forward?
Yeah, it's good, right? It's good to get. I think that's a goal to get in the playoffs. Obviously, we want to try to catch YD if we can. I think we're 5 points out, which is 2.5 games, and we have 7 to go. So it's going to be tough to catch them, but we can do it if we do our job, I think. And hey, we'll just see. It's just one game at a time. We're just worried about this first game tonight, the next 5 innings up here.
In the past 2 games, a combined 23 runs, so really an offensive explosion. What would you attribute that to?
Well, I think our guys are confident now. They're confident in the plate. Their approaches have been better. Offense is contagious, and I think you've seen that the past 2 nights. So I think, 10 against Wareham and then 13 against Falmouth. So it was good. Hopefully we can continue that tonight.
And of course, today in Game 1, you're going to be resuming your July 5th game, which was postponed due to fog. So how interesting is it having this postponed game and then a regular game that's full 9 innings after?
We've done it before. In 2005, actually in the playoffs here against Chatham, we had to come. We got fogged out. We had to come up here and finish a game. Then we had to hop on the bus and go back to Orleans and actually finish the series for Game 3. So it's just kind of it's just 14 innings basically. When you look at the evening, it's 5, and hopefully we'll have a winner after 5 so we don't have to go extras, and we take a little break and then play the regular game. So it's all good. These guys have played doubleheaders before, and it's just kind of a doubleheader again.
And this Chatham team has definitely gone through some changes with the players, also their third manager, which he'll be making his first debut today. What should you be expecting from the squad as a whole?
Well, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be a little different. Their lineup they had on July 5th is a little bit different. Some of those guys are gone. They've signed. They were in the lineup. They were pinch hit for. They were in the lineup. They came out of the lineup. So it's going to be a little different lineup. I'm going to be real honest. I'm not quite sure what to expect, but I'm sure the guys that they put out there as their starting 9 tonight are going to be just fine out there. And the arms they run out to the mound are going to be just fine. They're in the Cape League for a reason. So, again, they'll be good, and we have to be a little bit better tonight.
Well, it's a gorgeous one. Thank you so much and good luck today.
You bet. Thank you, Sammy.
Hey, set the tone, boys.
That'll do it for this edition of the Scorching Start on the Birds Broadcast Network. Make sure you tune in at 4:30 when the Orleans Firebirds take on the Chatham Anglers.